Lindsay,
Yes.
let's talk about lesbians in the media, of which we are.
Of which we are, and the lack of, because there aren't very many dykes, if we can say, in gay media, in our GLBTIQA media.
I know. So I was cruising through the gay press, which mostly exists in the online space nowadays. And I want to say up front that, you know, we have Matt Ackerston contribute to this show from Same Same. He's a cool guy, and he's the editor of Same Same. So this is by no means singling out any publication, but when I do a little bit of an audit, all I see is stuff that's basically skewed towards the boys. And it's all about men kissing on TV. It's all about talking and trusting and Grindr, and I don't know what the other apps are, but it's frightening the amount of coverage. When you look at gay imagery, it's all boys.
Absolutely. And we have Mardi Gras coming up. And to people listening to this show, just watch Mardi Gras and just have a look at how many times the cameras were actually focused on a lesbian group marching down Mardi Gras. Pride March in Melbourne. If you see a lesbian at all presented in media the Monday after Pride March, it'll be the dykes on bikes, and it'll be guys with their bums hanging out and, you know, drag queens. And that's the presentation of our community to the straight population out there. Well, I just find it really objectionable. And like you, I've worked in gay media, Bent TV, Joy Melbourne. I've done stints with Brother Sister, that was a gay newspaper in the, I think, 70s and 80s, I think early 90s. And I think they actually folded in about 95 or something. And also with Star Observer. And it's interesting to, you know, come into work and, you know, the paper, you know, Star Observer, we're talking, you know, more recent, and, you know, the paper's online, and you sort of look for something that's about your demographic, and there's nothing there. And I'm sure there are lesbians out there making news, apart from the ones that are comedians, you know, that are...
Well, let's tick off the cliches. We've got the Ellens, okay? So they're the funny gay girls that, you know... They make people laugh, and they break down the gay barriers with their humour and their intellect. Hannah Gadsby. Mm-hmm. Hannah's a great chick. She's really clever. She's self-deprecating. What's the next cliche? The dykes on bikes.
Dykes on bikes, yeah.
I don't ride a bike, so I don't fit with that demographic. Then there's the Sporty Spices.
Yes. Yep.
I'm a bit out of breath changing channels, so I'm not really in the sporty... I used to be a Sporty Spice. But, you know, now, I agree with you. I look at these websites and these publications, and nobody is speaking to me as a woman in my community. I don't know where to get my news from. So I guess we create our own news. We report the news. This is what we do. But I'm just a bit stumped as to why every representation of the female lesbian, which is... obviously the female lesbian, but by definition female.
There's a book there.
There's a book there. Why does it go to cliches? Is that because of ignorance, or is it because of misogyny within the gay community, or...?
Look, I think a lot of it has to do with misogyny, because while you were talking then, a couple of years ago I took over the presidency of Bent TV. They were going under, and of course, you know, they called me back to resurrect it.
Because if you want something done, call a dyke.
Call a dyke, absolutely. But the thing was that I was interviewed by a couple of, you know, gay media outlets, and yet when the article went to print, they used the quotes from the Vice President, who was a male. And I was a little bit offended at this, because it was not what I would have said to media. It was, look, you know, again, we don't mean to sort of bring anybody down or anything like that, but it was really bloody poorly written and constructed as well. And I just thought, hey, wait a minute, I think I might have got one line, and yet the article was about me. Now, you know, I'm not sort of waving my own banner or anything else here, but to a reader, and, you know, you have a fan base out there because of what you've done. I have a fan base out there because of what they've done. People are interested in what they're doing. And when, you know, friends of mine read that article, and they said, well, why did they header that with you? They should have just, you know, talked about the new vice president and left it at that.
They should have just said changes at Bent TV.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, so I personally, from my experience, I believe that there's an awful lot of misogyny out there, that lesbians are not important. The media believes in the stereotype that's been handed down since, Cocky was an egg about lesbians. We're not all, rough women with tattoos and truck drivers. I mean, Alan's proven that. She was the makeup girl for Maybelline or something, wasn't she?
Absolutely. She was an ambassador. But who are the famous Australian out lesbians in our media community?
Magda Zabansky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Magda. Hannah, who's a comedian.
Yes.
Magda's a comedian.
And they're not of type in terms of the beauty stakes.
Oh, no.
And I want to be really clear here when I say I think there is beauty in everyone. And I think everybody has their beauty. So I'm not saying anything other than that. But a lot has been made of Magda's weight. Hannah is a very sensibly dressed young woman. And she talks about that, She talks about that a lot. So we've got two comedians.
And her hips.
And her hips. Yep, her childbearing hips is what she calls them. So they're two gay ladies in the media. Who else? Pop quiz.
Fran.
Fran who?
Fran from Radio National.
Fran Kelly, yes.
Fran Kelly,
yes.
sorry. I believe she is.
Yes.
I'm not outing her publicly, but I believe she is out. That's about all I can think of immediately. Is Pauline Hanson gay?
Oh, please say no. We don't want her. We're going to throw her back. She's like the fish that John West rejects. That's Pauline.
We don't want you,
sorry,
Pauline.
membership is closed.
That's all I can really think of. Of course, there are women out there who I wish would go like Lee Sales. I think it'd be fabulous to wake up next to Lee reading the news every morning.
It's a serious question.
It is.
So, because I know a lot of girls in the media who are gay that are not out. I mean, everybody knows. It's that whole thing about everybody knows, but they're not out. And what is it about our culture in the media that prevents them from coming out? And because a lot of these girls would break down a lot of those stereotypes. And I'm not one to say, if you have a profile, you have an obligation. You don't. Your business is yours. And Karen Phelps. So Karen
Phelps, yeah.
Karen and Jackie Stricker Phelps. Great girls. They're really good people. And they're very much leading the charge. But that's it. Slim pickings.
It really is. And I think it's really sad in a way for younger women that are coming up that may be doubting their sexuality and are looking for role models. And, no offense, but not everybody would see Karen Phelps as a role model. Not everybody would see Magda Zabansky as a role model. And I think that, if more women came out that represented our mixed demographic and our mixed, sexuality as such, that you'd probably find that girls coming out would not be getting married and, going through that whole marriage thing and having children. You know what I mean? It'd be a much smoother.
The trajectory would be a bit different.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But, when you look even internationally, it's not until women are dead that they actually are out.
Or they have a life-changing moment. So there's a broadcaster on the Today Show, I think, in America, and she had a very serious cancer. And following that, she came out. She's been with the same woman for 12, 15 years. They're happily married and they're very happy. And I just wish that coming out was more organic for a lot of people, that the structures that surround us in our media culture and in our communities and those stereotypes that drive some of those anxieties, I wish they just weren't there. So I guess if we pull this right back to the beginning, as media makers, how can we get the conversation volume turned up on gay women?
I have no idea. I honestly have no idea. And like you working in the media, you always find, well, I've found that, gay men today are more misogynistic than what they've ever been.
Indeed.
I think that they are incredible bullies. If they don't get their own way, they'll literally stand there and stamp their feet. The knives that you may have had thrown in about all by gay men. It's never been, only once has it been by another woman, and she was bisexual and was sort of bringing all that, that pathologies, and bisexual, she wasn't happy with her sexuality, so she sort of took that out on me. And it wasn't until I said, look, it's not my fault you're feeling the way you are.
Maybe deal with that fence sitting business.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But, the fence sitting business. Ooh. But, yeah, I'm at a loss. And I understand. Like, I've had women chat to me and I say, come along and volunteer. No, we're not doing it. And I understand. And now I don't think that I would encourage a woman to volunteer for any for my experience, media groups, because you're just shot down in flames, you're bullied, you're abused. I was told one day in a studio that I was waving to this young queen that I knew in the next studio. And the guy that was in the studio with me told me very severely that if I didn't stop talking to him and disrupting his work, that he didn't care who I was going to be thrown out and told never to return. And it's like, and
I've
that
had
was
a similar experience.
Yeah, and that was just a simple wave. Hi, how you going? So I think, and I think we might have encroached upon it before, and I've spoken to many women in the community about this. I think that in every induction, and especially in media where there are so many egos, that in every induction there needs to be a segment there about how to treat women, what women find offensive, and that to be a punishable offence, as well as, drug taking and, turning up for, a gig drunk and all that. But I really do think that needs to be listed as a punishable offence, and you're out of that group.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
as far as
I mean, that is one of the solutions, right? It's about how we induct people into our business. And I think that if we were less exclusive in the way that we constructed these groups that we have in our community, I think if we sort of had a bit more integration going on, there'd be more checks and balances in place. But I don't know what the solution to, the gay man misogyny is. I don't know what that looks like yet. So I guess what we're saying is that we want our listeners to send us some tweets, put some stuff up on Twitter. Tell us what you think. Go to our Facebook page. We want to hear from the gay girls.
Exactly. And let us know, what you'd like to hear or what issues you're confronting, things like that, because I think that's the other thing. And I think it's something now that's happening, so many women out there, they're having babies, all of a sudden they're living this suburban lifestyle and their sexuality and community is sort of pushed back a bit. That's fine, but issues will still affect you. So, yeah, let us know.
Yeah. Get on the Twitter.
Get off your bottoms or, sit on your bottoms and Twitter.
Tweet it, Facebook it, send us an email.
Carry a pigeon.
Go to the app with Omni, which is where this show airs, and all of our contact deets are there. We want to hear from the ladies.
Absolutely.